Go from this to this by following these 12 easy steps to get cinematic drone footage. Hey everyone, Matthew here, and today I want to share with you tips, tricks and philosophies that are really easy to follow that I've learned over many years of flying drones, which has helped me take my videos from this to this. Now in my hand is the Mini 3 Pro, but these tips will work for any drone. It does not matter what drone you are flying, these tips will improve your videos. Now before I get into them 12 tips, I want to take 30 seconds to tell you about today's sponsor who can actually help you turn them awesome video clips into some side income, and that is Wirestock. Now Wirestock helps creators and drone pilots like you sell photos and videos online easily. The benefits of Wirestock are that they distribute your videos and photos to all major marketplaces from one single account. You can upload your best clips, which takes seconds, and they take care of the rest. They offer high royalty rates and discoverability, which is important as you want people to be able to find your content. You can build a beautiful portfolio and share and showcase your content through that portfolio. All payments are also sent to one single account and trackable on one dashboard. In terms of commission, it's 15% of paid royalties. They only make money when you do. So a big thank you to Wirestock for sponsoring this video. If you want to try out their platform, there is a link in the description down below. Now with all that out of the way, let's talk about the first tip that is going to level up your drone videos. Record at the right time of day. Recording at the right time of day is super important if you want cinematic videos because it's all to do with where the sun is at in the sky. The worst time of day you can record is in the middle of the day when the sun is highest in the sky. Everything will be lit really harsh, everything will look very flat, and I find it very hard to expose for. The best time of day to record is what we call golden hour. That's directly after sunrise or directly before sunset. Everything will be lit really soft, you'll have a really nice lighting, and everything will look absolutely beautiful. If you can't record at golden hour, I find any time early in the morning or any time later in the evening will result in really nice cinematic videos. Now if you want the most beautiful videos possible, you want to record when there's a beautiful sunrise or beautiful sunset with lots of colour in the sky. But how do you predict a nice sunset? Well, over the years I've tried many apps, Sky Candy, Alpenglow to name a few, and these claim to be able to predict if there's going to be a nice sunset. However, in my experience, I've found they're usually wrong. If it says there's going to be a nice sunset, there usually isn't, and if it says there isn't going to be a nice sunset, there usually is. So over the years I've kind of come up with my own little method for predicting a colourful sunset, and it seems to work fairly well. The first thing I do is I check the weather forecast around the time of sunset, so 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night during summer, for the area you're going to be recording. You want the weather app to say that there's going to be a nice sunny forecast. The next thing you want to do is you want to check how much clouds there's going to be in the sky. So I use an app called Clear Outside, and it shows you the lower, medium and upper level clouds in a certain area. You want to make sure there's not very many to no lower or medium level clouds. It doesn't really matter how many clouds are showing for high, but if it says there's going to be a lot of clouds for low, then you're probably not going to be able to see that sunset. So make sure that the lower and medium atmosphere or medium levels have little to no cloud. And if you've got a combination of sunny weather during the time of sunset and little to no cloud, then I've usually found you get a nice sunset. One consistent movement. This is the biggest mistake I see new drone pilots make. I've had loads of friends go out and buy a drone, they go out and record some videos, put some music in it, create a little edit and send it to me and ask my opinion. And the one thing I see them do all the time is it's one long video with no cuts and loads of drone movements happening throughout that video. So they're maybe flying forward, then all of a sudden they fly left to right, then they start weaving along, following a river. And this is just not very cinematic. You want to pick one drone movement, one consistent drone movement per shot. Think, okay, for this one clip, I'm going to do a push forward and just keep that one consistent movement. Then maybe find a new angle or new perspective and think, okay, I'm going to do an orbit. Put your thumbs in that position, start the orbit, hit record, and just keep your thumbs in that position. Do not change direction and have a nice, smooth orbit. So keep that kind of tagline in mind when you're out flying. One movement per shot. Lock exposure or use manual settings. So if you're not using manual settings and not logging your exposure and your camera isn't auto, you'll notice a few things happen that can ruin the cinematic feel of your videos. The first thing that can happen is the white balance can change. So the temperature of your video can change from cooler to warmer as you're recording your clip. The other thing that can happen is the exposure can change. So the image can get brighter or darker as you're recording. Now there's two ways to stop this happening. The first is to lock exposure. The way you can do this is you can press the C2 button on your controller if it's programmed to do so, or you can press and hold on the screen to lock your exposure. The other way you can stop this happening is to use manual video settings. And if you manually program your camera settings in, then these will not change while you're recording and you will not get these shifts in exposure and color on your video clips as you're recording, giving you much more cinematic videos. Get unique perspectives, and more importantly, get perspectives which are only possible with a flying camera such as a drone. One of the biggest mistakes I made as a beginner was I got lots of nice videos, but they were low to the ground, they were over land, and you could have probably got the same videos with a camera and a slider. If you'd looked at the video, you maybe wouldn't even have known that they came from a drone. One of the biggest advantages of a flying camera such as a drone is we can put them in perspectives in areas you can't normally put a traditional camera. So get perspectives people are not used to seeing. And on that note, try different angles. We can make mistakes sometimes as drone pilots where we think we're getting lots of different types of videos, but then come back and they all look the same. So I'll give you an example. We maybe find an angle or a perspective we like of a subject, but we do different drone moves. So we do a rise up, we do an orbit, we do a pull back, but we do all them moves looking at an object from the same perspective, the same height off the ground. Now when we're out flying, these will feel like lots of really different and unique videos, but when we come back, they're all of the same perspective and really they're not that unique at all. So make sure whenever you're out recording your videos that you are continually changing angles and perspectives. Use color grading. Now don't worry, I know color grading can be scary as a beginner. And I'm not talking about D-Log or even Cine-like color grading here. I'm talking about subtle color grading which you can use on the normal color profile to either bring the image closer to what you've seen with your eye or make it pop. So the clip we're looking at is a orange sunset background of Musselton Temple in Northern Ireland. Firstly, I brought the blacks down to make the temple itself much more like a silhouette. And then I increased the saturation just a little bit to make the sky more orange. Look at the difference the before and after is on this clip. It makes a massive difference, and those were two minor tweaks, wind and weather. This point requires discipline, but I promise you it will make the biggest difference to the cinematic feel and quality of your video clips and just how good your video clips look in general. I made this mistake all the time as a beginner, and I still make it every now and then, I have to be honest. And that is, sometimes you can go to a location, when you get there, it's a grey, dull, rubbish looking day, the weather's bad, but you think when you record your video clips with your drone, whenever you get back to the computer, they'll magically look better, or you maybe think you'll do some color grade and you'll boost the saturation and you'll make them look amazing. But the reality is, the drone just sees what you see. If it's a grey, dull, boring day, that's probably going to be mimicked in your video clips. If it's not a specific event that you need to record at a specific time, wait until you get a nice sunny day or the weather's nice to go out recording your video clips. Wind too. You can get to a location sometimes and it's super windy, and your drone might be fine flying in the air, but getting cinematic video clips is a different story altogether. I find when flying my drone in wind, even though the drone can handle okay, there's usually a bit of bumpiness in the video itself. And I find that if you're trying to do smooth, subtle movements and it's windy, it's hard to do that when it is that windy. So again, preference is to fly your drone whenever the wind is as little as possible. Now sometimes no matter how hard you try, you still get shaky video. You maybe weren't smooth enough on the controller, you maybe did go flying in the wind, and in these cases you need to stabilize your video in post. If you've come back and you've got a really nice video clip but it's slightly shaky, don't throw it away, you can stabilize it using two methods. The first method is using Warp Stabilizer in Premiere Pro. This is really good if you've only got a small amount of movement in your clip and you want to smooth that out. It's also really easy to do this. Simply drag the Warp Stabilizer effect onto your clip in Premiere Pro, let it analyze your clip, and after a few minutes, it will have stabilized your video. Now in some cases, this is just not good enough. It can't stabilize all the motion in your clip. Here's an example of a hyperlapse I done of a sunset, and for some reason the sunset drifted off center. Now to stabilize this, I used a stabilize motion effect in After Effects. To do this, you put your clip in the timeline, you select the stabilize motion effect, you draw a box around the area you want to track, and then you put an X marker on the subject you want to track and make the center of your video. you let it analyze your clip, and then After Effects will make the area you place the X the center of your video clip and stabilize everything around it. Be deliberate with each shot. So tell me if you can relate to this. You go out, you put your drone up in the air, you just hit record and you start recording lots of stuff. You come back home and you have hundreds of video clips, but only 2 or 3 of them are actually usable. I used to do this all the time, and it's an incredibly inefficient way of filming subjects with your drone. You want to be deliberate with each shot. It saves so much of your battery, it gives you more flying time to get better shots in general, and it means you're not filling your video card with clips that you're not actually going to use. Think, okay, for this angle, I'm going to do a push forward. Then I'm going to do an orbit around the subject, which is going to bring me over here. Then I'm going to move to a top down. I'm going to do a top down. Then once I've done that, I'm going to start a pull back, gimbal up. And it just means whenever you bring the drone back, whenever you come home, you have lots of video clips, lots of high quality and cinematic video clips, and all of them are usable, and you don't spend hours watching through each one and deleting the majority of them. So be deliberate with each video clip. Record longer than you think you need. I can't tell you the amount of times I've made this mistake. I've come home, I've been watching a video clip, and I think that's absolutely perfect, absolutely beautiful, but it's only like 3 seconds long. And that is just not enough if you're putting a cinematic sequence together. Whenever you're flying and you're recording, in your head you feel like you've recorded much more than you actually have. And whenever you come back home and look at the video clip, it's just too short. So over the years I've learned to record much longer than I think I need, because you can always trim a long clip down, but you can't extend a short clip out. Fly close to objects. If you want the ultimate cinematic video clip possible, then I recommend you fly close to objects. Look at this example here. Look how close the leaves are to the drone. I'm flying in a tight space. Just look how cinematic it looks. Now, if you're going to do this, I have a couple of tips. Firstly, if you're flying close to a cliff face, you're going to be fine with obstacle avoidance turned on. But if you're flying in tight spaces, such as this example here, you're probably going to have to turn it off. And this is for a few reasons. If you have it on and set to brake mode, sometimes it can think an obstacle is more of an obstruction than it is. So it can think that leaves that are close to it are actually kind of in front of it, and it can brake prematurely when it could probably just fly past fine. So you don't want that. If you have it in bypass mode, the drone will automatically weave around these objects, which is fine if you're out in the open, but if you're trying to get a smooth cinematic shot, you want it to fly straight, and if it's in bypass mode, it will weave around these obstacles and not give you that nice straight tracking shot. So I find I just turn it off in these scenarios. Do be careful. I find it much easier to actually fly the drone by watching it in real life and watching it fly straight and through these obstacles instead of relying on the screen of the drone. The other thing that I find is the downward obstacle avoiding sensors always seem to be on, regardless if you have obstacle avoidance turned off. So I find when flying close to the ground, if I maybe fly over the top of a rock, the drone will automatically rise up over it. And this is great for obstacle avoidance, but again, it means you're not getting a smooth cinematic move because the drone's moving up and down. So rise the drone up so that it's not getting any detection on them downward obstacle avoidance sensors, and so you don't get this bobbing up and down motion. The last thing I'll say is if you are going to do this, just be super careful. You don't want to damage your drone, you don't want to damage the obstacles that you're flying through. So just be really cautious when getting these types of shots, but they do look absolutely awesome. So those are my 12 easy tips to get cinematic drone footage. Head out there, give them a go. I'd love it if you came back into the comments and let me know how you got on. Or there's maybe some tips you have learned over the years of flying your own drone, which have helped you get awesome video clips. I'd love it if you commented some of them tips down below to help others get awesome video clips with their drone. Now, if you've liked this video and you've learned something new, please let me know by giving me the thumbs up and clicking that like button down below. And if you've liked this video and you want to learn more about getting awesome photos with your drone and getting more cinematic video clips, then I have a ton of other content on my channel to help you level up your drone game that I recommend you check out. If you want to stick around and see a few more of them now, here's a few I personally recommend. I'll not keep you back any further. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you over there.